So not the best week for the Bulls last week. Not only did they have some bad losses against teams like the Magic and the Grizzlies, but we also learned that Zach Lavine will be out for some time, which we never really received a definitive date for when to expect him back. All the reports have just indicated that it would be at least 10 to 14 days, which is a long time when you're approaching the end of the season with a crammed, packed together schedule. So a bad week overall for the Bulls, despite being able to beat the Cavs on Saturday to close out the week. Now going into this week, well, the Bulls don't have the luxury against playing some of the worst teams in the league for an entire week stretch, and given Lavine's estimated timeline for return, it's likely we will not be seeing him at any time this week. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. So guys, in case you were wondering, the results from the last community poll, this was in regards to my last video on whether or not you guys felt that Zach Lavine would remain a Chicago Bull after his contract expires the next season. And this stemmed from the reports that have come out that he likely won't be extending his contract this season and will test free agency in 2022, which really isn't a surprise. He'll be able to secure a lot more money if he goes that route. But in any event, here are the results of the poll, which I guess I was a little surprised by. I honestly didn't expect that nearly 80% of you felt that he would remain with the Bulls. And the only reason I say that is because I can tell you the countless comments I've seen on my videos as well as in the live chats about there is no way that Lavine is going to stay with the Bulls based on how bad they have been playing, which I know that's a bit of a reactionary response, but I really thought that this would be more of a 70-30 result or even 65-35. But I guess most people have confidence that Zach will be returning to the team, and I know a lot of this is dependent on many factors like what the Bulls do this offseason to really round out the roster, how they actually perform next season to where he would want to stay as a result. But either way, I was still a little surprised that the yes vote was so high. But anyway, let's talk about this upcoming week of games. So the Bulls are kicking things off tonight against a team that has been really hot recently in the Boston Celtics. The Celtics have won 6 straight and looking to make their way back up the East standings to avoid that play-in tournament. Then the Bulls will take on the Cavs again, this time in Cleveland. That will be on Wednesday. They'll head back home in a back-to-back to face the Hornets, which will be another critical game given the Hornets have fallen in the standings and are now sitting 8th in the East with the injuries to LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward. And then finally they'll close out the week on Saturday to take on the Heat, another team has been mildly struggling and has really had an up and down season. So for tonight's game against the Celtics, I mean, this is going to be a hard one for the Bulls, especially when you don't have Lavine. Like I mentioned, the Celtics are on a 6-game winning streak and have been playing incredibly well as of late. And they kind of have to, right? This is a team that had very high expectations going into the start of the season, a lot of young up-and-coming talent, and they just haven't been able to figure it out. They've really been sitting as a fringe playoff team most of the season. There was a period where they were actually sitting 9th in the East at one point. So they're going to come out hungry with this momentum they're currently riding, and likely going to see this as an easy win because, let's face it, the Bulls have been struggling most recently, and especially without our best player. All of that being said, though, at the same time, at least at the time of this recording anyway, Jaylen Brown is actually listed as questionable for tonight's game. He also missed the Celtics' last game against the Warriors. Kemba Walker is also listed as questionable. Evan Fournier is out due to health and safety protocol, and even Jason Tatum is listed as day-to-day, but he is probable for tonight's game. So if the Celtics are without Brown, Tatum, and Kemba Walker, that's a huge plus for the Bulls. They have to try to take advantage of the Celtics that is without their best players, although we do sometimes know the Bulls actually end up playing worse against short-handed teams. But either way, I imagine Tatum will likely be playing, and if he does, that's a guy the Bulls are going to have a very hard time finding an answer for and guarding him. My guess is Patrick Williams will likely be on Tatum most of the game, given they play the same position, and Williams is one of our better defenders and often tasked with guarding the opposing team's best offensive player. The Bulls certainly need Theis's help on defense. I'm sure he'll be playing with a bit of a chip on his shoulder, given that this is the team that traded him away most recently. We're certainly going to need his rim protection. Now, the one advantage I see in this game is that the Celtics don't really have a strong big man. Robert Williams, their first-round pick from 2018, he's been okay for them, but he's no match for Vucevic. On top of that, he's actually going to be out for tonight's game. And then after the Celtics traded away Tice, they don't really have many options at the 5. Outside of the GOAT, Luke Kornet, of course. Leave it to Luke Kornet, have a breakout game against his former team that traded him away. Man, I would be so livid if that happened. I guess the Celtics do still have Tristan Thompson as well, but he's been pretty underwhelming for them as of late. So that's really going to be the key for this game for the Bulls, at least as it pertains on offense. They have to be feeding Vucevic constantly. Feed him in the paint, using the pick and roll and pick and pop, finding him on the perimeter, because the Celtics will not have an answer for Vucevic. The problem, though, is can the Bulls stop Tatum? Because they can keep going to Vucevic all game and having him put up 40-plus points, but if they're not double-teaming Tatum and playing hard-nosed defense on him, it's not going to matter. The guy is an elite scorer and athlete, and he will make you pay if you don't play top-notch defense on him. Then the Bulls will take on the Cavs on Wednesday. Not much to cover in this one since the Bulls just played the Cavs on Saturday. Play your game on offense because we know the Cavs can't. They are dead last in the league on offense in terms of points per game. They're okay. They're an okay defensive team, but either way, a Bulls team, this is a game that they have to absolutely win, and they know what to expect in this one, given the fact that they just recently played the Cavs and they played them without Lavine. Then the Bulls will head back home the following day to take on the Hornets. The Hornets, which started to look like they were having a promising run, have since been riddled with injuries, especially to LaMelo Ball, who will be out for the season. Gordon Hayward, arguably their best player, is also out with a foot injury. Malik Monk also didn't play in last night's game against Portland, so we'll have to wait and see if he's available, because by the time Thursday rolls around, maybe he will be back. And Devontae Graham actually has been listed as day-to-day. So again, another potential opportunity for the Bulls to take advantage of a shorthanded team. The Hornets have really struggled on offense ever since losing LaMelo and Gordon Hayward. The Hornets at one point were 14th in the league on offense before those two were injured, but have since slipped to 22nd in the league. And they're not that great of a defensive team either, with the amount of points that they give up. And this game is kind of, back to the same strategy against the Celtics. It's just continuing to feed Vucevic the ball on offense. I mean, that's the luxury the Bulls have in having an all-star big man that can get you points in the paint, offensive rebounds, and can spread the floor and knock down threes. The Hornets are very weak at the center position, with Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo being their main guys at the 5. That's an easy matchup for Vucevic. The Bulls have to set up plays around him, even if it means slowing down their overall pace on offense. Terry Rozier is a great player, though. He's having a great season, and he's going to be one of the guys that the Bulls need to ensure he doesn't get too hot on offense. He's averaging over 20 points per game. I would love to see Troy Brown Jr. get some significant minutes in this game just to pester Rozier, as he's really the only player on the Hornets that is an offensive threat with all those guys being out. And then, of course, to close out the week, the Bulls will be taking on Miami against Jimmy Butler and the Heat. I honestly can't figure out this Heat team, because on paper, this team is so talented with the veteran players they have, and Butler and Dragic, and even Iguodala. And then you have talented young players in Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, and Duncan Robinson. They also just recently got Victor Oladipo, too, before the trade deadline. And now initially they were struggling with injuries to start the season, and players were falling into health and safety protocols, so I understand that. But more recently, they have been healthy, and they have started to figure, they had started to figure things out, and now they're, right back to starting to slip again. They're sitting 7th in the East and only a half game ahead of the Hornets for the 8th spot. And of course, you had Jimmy Butler come out recently and say that the guys were playing soft, which we as Bulls fans know all too well, coming from a guy like Butler, a guy that is an ultra competitor and doesn't stand for anything less than his players giving 100% on the court. But for the Bulls, this one is going to be a tough game, because as much as Patrick Williams can try and defend Jimmy, he's no matchup for someone like Butler when he's on offense. And of course, Jimmy is also an incredible defender, so it's doubtful Patrick is going to have much success on the offensive end in this game. And then the Bulls also don't match up well down low, when you have a super talented defender in Bam Adebayo. Vucevic has historically struggled against Bam even when he was on the Magic. The Bulls will have to deal with great shooters in Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Oladipo, and we all know the Bulls are a bad team when it comes to guarding the perimeter. So yeah, this is going to be a tough game for the Bulls. Also, I just realized Jimmy is averaging 21, 7, and 7 this season. Are you kidding me? Dude has just been balling for the Heat since he joined them last season. Just gives you more pain if you're a Bulls fan, knowing that Garpax opted out of building around him. But anyway, as for my predictions this week, well, we all know my predictions for Bulls games have been pretty terrible this season, partly because this Bulls team is so incredibly unpredictable, as you never know how they're going to compete on a nightly basis. But I'm not really that optimistic about this week. I think the Bulls are going to go 2-2, falling to the Celtics and the Heat, and winning their back-to-back matchups against the Cavs and the Hornets. But to be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if they go 1-3 and also losing to the Hornets. You just never really know with this team. I want to hear your guys' predictions though. How do you think the Bulls will fare in their 4 games this week? Let me know in the comments. I'll also have some sort of giveaway for score predictions this week. I know that it's been a while since I've had one of those, so make sure you're subscribed and have the bell notifications on so you don't miss a video when I announce the giveaway. As always, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.